All right, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, I had a little bit of feedback there. This is a House Retirement Committee meeting. Most of you are familiar with this process. We do need to send a number of bills off that are noted as fiscal bills per the state auditor. We need to send those off for actuarial review if they're going to be heard over the second year of this 23-24 session. That's our normal process for fiscal bills. But before we get started, Representative Green, can you lead us in an invocation?
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, as we begin this new day, may we be thankful for the many blessings that we have received already. And Father, we just ask you to guide us, provide us with wisdom, provide us with the opportunity to understand the measures that are before us. And Lord, we pray that as working legislators, as individuals who care about the state of Georgia and love Georgia, that we will make the right decision. Be with us now, Father. Guide us and direct us and bless each and every one of us. In thy holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Gerald. Amen. Okay. So first bill up is going to be House Bill 824. This is a bill that, do we have Vince on the line? Vince Mooney? All right. Okay. Vince, I need you to go ahead and unmute if you could.
Okay.
All right. I think everybody has the bill, at least online access, and a document. I apologize for the late submission, but there was a document that was just sent out. Vince, I think you might have it available. I don't know if you can share it on screen, but basically I'll just tee this up. Several years ago, the retirement plan for state law enforcement officers was amended. It sounds like quite a bit. And again, what we're talking about here is Department of Public Safety, DNR game wardens that are post-certified, and GBI investigators that are post-certified. We've been asked to consider increasing the retirement plan because their salaries are competitive, their training core is competitive. But the problem is the state law enforcement officers are not competitive when it comes to retirement plans if you look at other states and possibly even municipalities and so forth. So with that, I'm going to ask Vince Mooney from the Georgia State Patrol to give us an overview. Vince?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield to Colonel Chris Wright, who is also online.
Okay. Chris, are you online and can you unmute your line?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead. Thank you. How are you? How's Washington, D.C.?
It's been good. We've been up here honoring our cadet that passed away last year in the line of duty. And we brought his family up here, and we've been up here for Police Memorial Week, and we're at the airport now about to head back to Atlanta. But just thank y'all for your time this morning, your consideration on this bill. And we hope something very positive will come out of this, as you and I have spoken before, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Recruiting and retention is an issue for us, and not just us, but for law enforcement in general. And through our research, and I know the ERS commissioner is on as well, and he may speak to some of this later, but the retirement in our state for state law enforcement is outside the norm. And through our research, we are dead last when it comes to a comparable compensation plan for retirement. And what we have found is that our 401k retirement plan is portable, and our employees treat it as such. And so we can have someone come on with us and spend 5 years, and then they can take their 401k plan and go to another agency. They can move to really anywhere. They can take that 401k with them. It's portable. So it's not anchoring people to stay with us like it used to. Back when we had a 90% retirement, we would have 3,000 applicants and from the pool trying to get jobs with us. And so it anchored people to stay with us, and it anchored them to come work for us because they knew they were going to have a decent retirement after a 30-year career. And what we're finding now is we're not able to recruit people. It is the number one issue when we talk to our employees is retirement. And it's the number one thing that they constantly ask about is there a plan, or is there something to where we can do better with retirement? So it is a huge issue for us, Mr. Chairman, and we hope that this will help us find a better defined retirement plan for our employees, and hopefully it will help us with recruiting.
Got it. Thank you for that, Colonel. And I think, could you give us a little information in regard to like a typical trooper school? How many of those do you have per year? How many slots are you trying to fill, and how many can you fill? Maybe three questions here.
So right now we have we're putting in 2 trooper schools per year. We are going to do an additional school this year, so we'll have 3 in, and it will be an accelerated trooper school, so it'll be shortened to 14 weeks, to where we'll only have people in that school that are already post certified. They already have experience. So this year we'll have 3. We've been trying to put 100 people in in the 2 trooper schools, but we have not been able to even come close to getting 100 applicants. So we've been getting somewhere between 60 and 80 that we're able to put in school. And then of course, with the attrition of trooper school failures and that sort of thing, we end up somewhere around 30 to 40 people who graduate. We've got a class in right now. Class looks really good. We've got 38 left in the school. They're about to go to field training. There are 38 solid cadets, so we're real excited about them graduating. And of course, we're going to start another school in July. And right now we have 81 final applicants. And as soon as they clear psych and medical, and we may lose 1 or 2 in that process, but we hope to start that class with about 80 cadets in July.
Got it. And either you or Vince, if you can you talk about where does the attrition happen? Are you losing troopers to cities within Georgia? Are you losing troopers to other states? Can you talk about that?
I can. We have lost a few to other states, but what we're seeing predominantly is that people are just getting out of law enforcement. The pay and the retirement, particularly in our state, is just simply not worth the risk to a lot of these people now. So what we're finding is they're just simply getting out of law enforcement in general. The salary and compensation is just not competitive enough to keep people doing this particular job anymore. It's dangerous work, and the hours are not conducive to a family environment. There's just so much opportunity for them to do something with a lot less danger nowadays. So it's unless somebody really has a desire to serve, they're just not they're not staying in the profession like we once saw.
Thank you for that. And what this bill basically does, if I may, we're talking about DNR game wardens, motor carrier compliance, Capitol Police, certain officers of DOR, but mostly we're talking about State Patrol and Department of Public Safety. And what we're talking about is, rather than at 1% of final salary times the number of years of service, we're talking about increasing to a graduated scale such that the first, let me see. We're talking about a graduated scale such that years 11 through 15, someone would be earning their monthly retirement benefit will 3% of each year of their vesting. And for years 16 through 20, 5%. And they're 21 through 25, 6%. So it incentivizes that longevity, if you will. I think that's what we're talking about. Colonel, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. What we would like to see is some sort of graduated plan like you just discussed, where employees can see that as they stay with us and as they become tenured, they will have, a better retirement as far as, towards the end of their career, so that we can get them to stay a full career with us and not leave early. What we're seeing now is most of our employees will go out on a disability retirement, because the disability retirement incentivizes people to get out early. And quite honestly, it's a better retirement system to go out on a disability. So we want to get people, we want to incentivize people to stay with us for a 30-year career and stay with us, so that we get our full investment out of that employee that we put into them. It cost us $146,000 to train a trooper and put him on the road. So when you take that number and you multiply it by the number of people that we are seeing leave early on a disability retirement, it costs the state a tremendous amount of money. And that's the thing. We want a good retirement system where we anchor people to where we can get that full career out of them, and we get that full investment that we have put in them for the state.
Got it. And if I may, Vince, I think you and I worked on this bill, or actually I appreciate the work that you and Blake Travis here did with Ledge Council. This adopts what's called a drop plan, or defined retirement option plan. This is really modeled after Florida's retirement plan for state law enforcement. I actually spoke with some of their committee members and administration folks in Tallahassee, and apparently this has been somewhat effective in stemming the tide, or at least keeping more people from retiring. Is there any questions from the committee? Can we, yeah. Chairman Martin.
I don't know if this is to the author of the bill or to the gentleman. I guess you will send it. We'll know when it comes back, but I mean, just back of envelope math, this is going to be tremendously expensive. I mean, more so than anything we're looking at in ERS. And my question to you, and I understand the portability, but at that expense, it just seems to me that if we were gonna come up with that expense, why not just pay the people a salary to keep them here and have, the best in breed salary? I mean, it is given that option. Carl, what do you think?
Colonel Wright or Billy?
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, you're right, but the problem that we have seen is there's no consistency with when and how the legislature provides pay raises for our employees, and that's one of the issues. Is there's no consistency with it. Which, I mean, we have been times where we went 10 and 12 years and have not gotten a pay raise. And when you go that long of a time and our employees see that, then there's no way for them to know that they're going to get a raise. And so that's been one of the issues with that. So, I mean, we really feel like a defined benefit plan will help us. And I'll say this too, our employees have consistently said they would like to contribute more than what we're currently contributing to help pay for that retirement system. So I can't remember exactly what the percentage is that we're paying now, but I mean, it's minimal. And our employees have consistently said they would, they'd be more than happy and more than willing to contribute more to help fund that a better retirement.
Well, we'll see about actually. I just eyes wide open looking at this. If you take somebody at $60,000 and give them a 3% raise a year and a 7% return, which is what our retirement system counts on, maybe they went to 8 this year. You come up with an amount of money after 25 years that will yield a 30-year income stream of $2,000 a month, and in this case, at 80% of the numbers we're talking about, that's going to be about $4,000 a month short of what we're going to. So it's going to be, I just want everybody to go. It's going to be a huge number that the state's going to have to put in. And if we're putting that in annually, we could be matching employees' salary. But this is a good conversation. What I'm hearing for you is we need to do something in order to have recruitment and retention. It's not a magic pill that we, put it out there and it creates enough money at 25 years to pay an 80% of the final salary, annuity. And I'm cognizant of the point. If we do this, we're going to have people retiring 25 years from now, making more than we're paying the officers that are still working, that are just starting. So, but it's good to get an actuarial look at it. We'll see what it costs.
And it depends on what that looks like. What is the state revenue at that point? I asked Vince Vince Mooney to put together what would they like to see, such that we have something as per our committee rules and per House rules. If we have to trim it back because of policy, because of cost or what have you, we have that flexibility to do that within the current 2-year term. Hello, Joe?
No, I'm with you.
Okay,
That was
all
a statement. I didn't think that was a question. I hear you. I agree with
Okay,
what you
just
got.
making sure we're on the same page. We have 2 people on Zoom that had a comment. I think is Debbie first? Debbie
Thank you,
Buckner.
Mr. Chairman. I'm kind of following the same logic as Representative Martin, which I know some people will find that interesting.
I want to write that down for today. That's that I've never seen that in 12 years.
I'm concerned about the cost. I do want to support law enforcement. It's not that, but I am concerned about the cost and how it will impact the system. And because we're already having problems with that system not being able to come to the funding level that's needed for COLAs for the existing retirees. So I'm not against it. I'm just concerned about the expense and the cost. But I do have a question. I'm really curious how much retirement helps with recruitment versus the pay rate. I mean, the rate of pay to the individuals. I have a question about whether or not people in this day and time want the money in the pocket today rather than thinking so far ahead to retirement. I know benefits are important and they probably think about that, but I wonder if having a higher rate of pay and a regular step increase is not more important to those workers. Have you done any kind of polling or surveys, or do we know how they feel about that and the difference of if we had limited funds to put them in pay or put them in retirement, which they would prefer?
I think that's a question for Colonel Wright or Vince.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Buckner. We meet with all of our employees. We go around the state and we meet with all of our employees every 2 years, and we meet with them one-on-one. And when we met with our employees just this last time around, this was the biggest issue that they were concerned about was retirement. And actually we were surprised, Ms. Buckner, because it's always been this thought that these younger people want the money in the pocket, but believe it or not, that was the #1 issue and #1 concern of theirs. And our agency right now is very, very young. Over 50% of our agency has less than 10 years on. So it was resounding number. Every single one of them was concerned about retirement. So, I think it's something that we have to look at very, very hard. And I'll just share this information with y'all too. Some of the states around us are in the legislative process and just completing their legislative processes. The state of Tennessee just gave their highway patrol a 37% pay raise. The North Carolina Highway Patrol just increased theirs significantly as well. Troopers in the state of North Carolina will top out at $105,000 is what their salary will be. Our troopers top out at $80,000, and they don't even get to that point until they've got 18 years on. In the state of Tennessee, they top out at what is it, 102 there. So the states around us are working very, very hard to support their state law enforcement and their salaries, because it is very, very hard to attract people to do this profession now. And I've said many times that the days of us paying law enforcement in this state and around this country $40,000 and $50,000 a year, those days are over because people are not willing to do this dangerous job for that kind of money anymore. It is dangerous work. And, I don't want to sound, I'm not trying to be too overboard about it, but we have got to have solid, sound law enforcement because there's two professions that protect this country and keep it safe, and that's our military and our law enforcement. And if we don't get more people and younger people interested in this profession and draw them into it, I don't know who's going to answer that call. And so it is very, very important that we take a very hard look at retirement and salary in our profession right now.
Thank you for that, Debbie. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you.
Mary Frances Williams, are you on? Mary Frances, you're on
Yes,
mute.
I'm here. Okay, thanks. Well, first of all, I definitely support moving this bill on for actuarial study. I would like to say that. And I also am concerned about doing whatever it takes to hire and retain, the best law enforcement staff that we can. And I have sort of a related question, unrelated. In terms of the cost of this and what happens once we get further down the line, I'm thinking about the budget disregards and the budget cuts, and I'm hearing so much from state retirees. I mean, I always have, and I just want to make sure as we move these bills along that we have the expectation that if we pass something and get something in the budget that we can actually count on having the support for our law enforcement officers. And I don't know if we have any answers, Mr. Chairman, about what to do about the state retirees or what the answers are about that, but it just sort of, it affects my overall view of as we move forward and put bills, on for actuarial study. I'm just concerned about the overall picture and us being able to, to follow through with this work. So thank you. Just interesting comments.
I understand. And I think Representative Buckner had a similar concern there. Was Patty had a question on that? All right, Representative Patty Bentley, are you on? And take yourself off mute, and then Chuck will get to you. Patty?
Good morning, colleagues. Can you all hear me well?
We can hear the Strawberry Queen. How are things in my family town in Reynolds?
It is great because I'm here. That's why. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
So listen, I just want to quickly say good morning to Colonel Wright and all others. And I definitely support this legislation. And in terms of, I hear the concerns from Chairman Martin and Representative Buckner, but I believe we can find this money. We got all this money in reserve. We can find it to give these state patrol officers what they need to ensure that they can maintain their positions and keep all of us safe in the state of Georgia. So that's pretty much my response to this particular piece of legislation, House Bill 824. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Chairman Martin.
Yeah, I guess a question for maybe Blake, or if we've got ERS on. As this is written, would this roll into ERS, or would this create a separate fund that would have to be maintained? Just going back to the representative's question about not wanting to put a burden on the rest of ERS because this is an extremely rich program. Again, not calling question that, but would this not go into a separate accounting program, almost like a separate retirement program?
That question I cannot answer. That would be better for one of the ERS administrators.
And Mr. Chairman, we don't have to have that answer today to send this to.
Well, they are on, but we can have that question answered. One is part of the fiscal process, two,
Right.
in conversation, but it's a worthy question, Chuck. Okay. I just wanted to say, anything else, Blake?
No, I know, just to give you a quick answer, I know for different positions, they have a different employer contribution rate. So I believe it's held in the same pool, but they establish a different employer contribution rate for the different category of employee.
Got it. Representative Buckner. Pat, Debbie,
I'm sorry, I was trying to get unmuted. A thought just popped in my mind with the help of someone sending me a text, but our 911 center operators and officers, would they be included in this? Because some of those are regional, and I don't know if they're considered like state employees or just employees of the counties when they're a regional center. And then
I don't believe so. Lines 14 through 21 cover who, given detail who is covered, and I don't believe county 911 agents are included in that.
but when they are a regional center and they cover multiple counties, does that become a state, or is that still just regional and local? I mean, that's the question, I think.
I'd have to defer to Vince, but I would assume not at this point.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a regional thing where multiple counties contribute for those operators in there. So there'd still be a county.
Okay.
It'd be subject to a county IGA, but still county level, I believe.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Intergovernmental agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, one more speaker, Chuck Friedman from the Georgia State Retiree Association. Chuck, you need to unmute your line. Chuck, you're still muted.
Now. Am
All right.
on? Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, giving me the opportunity to present to you today on behalf of retired ERS employees. I too appreciate the comments of Chairman Martin, and think he's right on, as well as Representative Buckner and Williams, and thank you so much for those. We certainly support, and I personally support, whatever we can do to improve the retention and recruitment of certified officers for the state. I'm sure most of you know that I have a son who is a detective on a county police force, and I'm quite aware of the pressures and the burdens that are on law enforcement. Where we have concern is potential costs for this, as well as we're not real sure mechanically as how it would work, and those issues could have additional costs as well, as far as how the opt-ins who already had significant number of years in whatever retirement system they were in, how the cost of their future benefits would be funded. The point being, and Chairman Martin alluded to this just earlier and a couple of years ago in when he was commenting on another bill, and I hope he still feels this way, his belief was that commitments that had been made to existing retirees, those promises should be honored before there were additional funding needs for other retirees. So, and along that lines, I want to note that there are, which potentially are several thousand currently retired certified officers who are not impacted on this bill. They are subject to the same inflationary and standard of living pressures as all other ERS retirees. And the committee, I'm sure, recalls that our recent survey where well over 90% of existing ERS retirees have seen a great loss, a significant loss in their standards of living. So along that line, we would feel much more comfortable if House Bill 824 could be amended in some way that it would reflect either mechanically or a statement of intent that the promise of COLAs for existing retirees, either every year at 3% or averaging 3%, depending on what inflation was doing at the time, whether that the bill would have some provision for addressing that. And I call to mind Senate Bill 167 that was introduced a couple of years ago. It would address that in a certain way.
Thank you, Chuck.
I
Anything
appreciate
else?
it.
We need to keep moving.
Well, and I'm done. So thank you very much, sir.
But I fully understand where you're coming from. You don't oppose the funding for this. It's the funding at what cost to what other plans, I think is what
Exactly,
you're trying to say. I want to say real quick, I think Representative Thomas has a motion. I did want to point out that there was a packet that was sent out electronically. I apologize for the late notice. I just wanted to cover one stat. If you could just remember nothing else about our half-hour discussion about this, just one stat. Since 1996, some of you are native Georgians like myself, and we had the Olympics here. Since 1996, the state of Georgia population has gone up 50%. We have fewer troopers on the road today, actually by 15%. We have fewer troopers on the road today than we did in 1996. So I take Chairman Martin's point. He's distracted by his phone. That's another bill. And I take the other points, but we do have a recruiting and retention issue. Representative Brad Thomas, are you still on?
I am. Motion at due time.
Okay. Appropriate time.
Okay, I motion, do pass.
Let me pull up.
Second, Patty Bentley, second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a comment from Chairman Martin real quick. Hold-
It
There
was
we
ju-
go.
It was just to make a motion. So let me clarify here. This is a motion to move this to actuarial study, not to.
That is
we can't
correct. We
take
are not-
action on the item.
We are
Yeah,
not,
you-
it's not
you're
about,
right.
none of these bills are about passage as of yet. This is about cost. I mean, we have
Right.
commitments, so.
That would just clarify the motion.
If that wasn't appropriate motion, then a motion to move to actuarial study. How's that?
Right.
I think we got it, yeah. And
Yeah.
Patty, did you get a second from Patty?
Yes. I fully understand that this is just for the actuary study. So yes, thank you.
We have a move, we have a second to go to actual review. Any further discussion? Chuck? Kidding.
Just a point, you can't modify, the gentleman asked us to modify the bill for intent. We can't
Yeah,
do that at this point.
I understand Mr. Friedman's point of view, but yeah, that's not possible at this point. We can do that as the process goes along, as long as we don't exceed the cost. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anybody on Zoom? All in favor of the motion moving to actual review, say aye.
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 All any opposed? Motion passes. Colonel Wright, Billy, catch your plane, fly safe. Appreciate you guys being on here and being flexible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank all of you. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you now. Thank you, Vince. Vince, we can catch up later if you want to log off.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Colonel. Thanks, Billy. Okay, that was one of the bigger ones, I think. Next one, House Bill 825, Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I hope this is the least complicated bill and the quickest one the auditor will handle if y'all move it on, because it involves absolutely zero state funds. It only involves my.
Did you say that again just for the committee?
I said, I hope it is. I said, I hope this is the least complicated
Because of
bill
the no state funds.
because it involves no state funds whatsoever. It's
Go
only
ahead.
my local government funds. Mr. Chairman, and committee members, if I may, all House Bill 825 does is it affects my district attorney only in my county. As most of you, and it makes his retirement benefits the same as his local supplement as a percentage of his retirement when he receives it. In other words, is most of our judicial circuits do. A supplement is given to our judges by the local government and also to our district attorneys. My county also gives the same supplement as a percentage when they retire for their retirement. In other words, if just to use round numbers, which obviously are not correct, if someone was making $200 and my county was, because they were getting 180 from the state, $180 from the state, and my county was kicking in $20. When they retire, let's say if they get $100, then at that point, the same 90-10 percentage would be kicked in for retirement. My county would give 10% to the state's $90 that they were giving, just to oversimplify it. The reason it's a retirement bill is I thought we could do this as a local bill because it only affects my county, but that's how it was originally done for my judges. It's set up that way for my judges right now, but Ledge Council is through the years has tightened things up, and they wanted this to go through the retirement process simply because the DA is quote unquote a state official and receives funds from there. So rather than a local bill, it is a retirement bill for you. But like I said, it has no state effect whatsoever. This is something my county commissioners asked to go ahead and put into the law like we have for our judges, that they will match the retirement for the DA percentage wise, just like they did the salary supplement they gave. I personally think it's a great thing when our local governments participate with the state salaries that we pay by supplements. And Mr. Chairman, that's what it does. It only affects my county. I'd be happy to answer any questions you or the committee members have about House Bill 825.
Thank you, Representative Fleming. Any questions? I don't see any in the room. Any on Zoom? Okay. Is there a motion? Chairman Green?
I make that motion that we move House Bill, what,
825.
825 forward for actuarial study.
Second. Any further discussion? Echo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you so
Fleming.
much.
Appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, my dearly and beloved Penny Houston, is she on? House Bill 829. Penny, can you take yourself off of mute? She might have stepped away.
No, I haven't stepped away. I'm going back to my computer now. Y'all talked so long, I almost went back to sleep.
Hey, we're just doing the people's business, Penny.
Oh, yeah. Y'all are doing a great job.
I appreciate it. All right, talk to us
Thank
about
y'all
House
for-
Bill.
Thank y'all for taking time to listen to this. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. You were loud and clear.
Well, good. Well, this bill is real simple. And I think you probably have a copy of the bill on your desk. But this is regarding legislators who have retired in past years. And it gives them an increase of their retirement up to $50 a month for each current year, and $200 a month each year that the member has been a presiding officer. And we consider a presiding officer a speaker. One thing I think we need to remind ourselves that these people who served years ago, and we don't think we get much benefits, but we get a lot more than they did. That I talked to one person, and the per diem when they came in was $35, and they got, until the 80s, representatives did not get expenses. And you've got to consider too, the salary was so low. I think when I came in, and maybe David Buckner might can remember what it was when she came in, but I think it was like $7,200. And I know we've got inflation, but inflation works both ways. And we have so many more advantages now than they did. And they really serve with a servant's heart. I don't think we'd have very many people up there serving today if the expenses weren't paid. And I would just really like for y'all to see how much this is going to cost. Our retirement fund for the legislators is overfunded. And I would just like for you to give these people a chance to see what it would be like to consider them on increasing their retirement. Do I
Thank you
have
for
any
that, Penny.
questions?
Thank you for that, Penny. When I'm looking at the bill, And I do appreciate you bringing this forward. Yes, the LRS is overfunded. I think we have Jim Potvin on. We can clarify later, but I think Chuck, I think the LRS is funded about 125% or thereabouts. Is that correct?
I think maybe a little bit more. I think it's, over nine, maybe between 9 and 11 million overfunded in the.
Well, I was thinking about percentage, but
I know, I was going to say, and I think that based on the payout, you're probably right.
it was 129% funded.
Yeah.
We obviously, we goal 100% funded. And I think it's a little bit less than that now after the passage of the bill. We did what, a year and a half ago?
Right.
I think the net effect of Penny's bill basically makes it $50 per month per year of service for everybody without a tiered payout structure. And the wording in regard to the $200 for the presiding officer, that's just moved from line 39 to added it to line 46 and 47. Is that correct for legislative council? I'm getting a nod from Blake. So yeah. Chuck, did you have anything for?
No, I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, you're right. The bill that passed previously, I think it was, Chairman.
I can't even remember. Was it Chairman Cantrell's?
Cantrell's bill. You also included a substantial increase in monies that were paying in by the current members were paying in, as well as the current presiding officer. But yeah, again, as Chair Lady Haston says, I don't have a problem with seeing what this does. I would suggest if the chair would entertain it, that I think we have another bill.
We do.
Are we doing that? That does it basically? It creates. It looks at the. I think. I can't find the number of it now, but
so just at a
Patty, to put. To see both
just at
of
a high
those.
level, what we're talking about, we have two LRS bills. We got pennies right now, and that basically makes it $50 per person per month per year service for everybody. Patty, you're up after this. Patty's basically goes to 75.
And that's what I was going to suggest. And I believe the young lady has brought hers to 75 for the second tier of folks. And I was just going to throw out for the committee for in the use of time that both those be entertained and we send both those to see what they say, because I think it is the chairs. I know Chairman Carson, we want to make sure that we don't go below the overage, but
right.
Those things in there. I think both things are valid to look at and to be considered, as long as we're not getting deep into the reserve.
I completely agree. And I just want to point out for the media and for the public, this is even though it's a legislative retirement system, it is completely funded by deductions from legislator pay. And in my 12 years, there's not been a state supplement or injection of money into this fund at all. And this is all coming out of state lawmakers' paychecks. Am I correct in saying that, Chairman?
Correct.
I mean, I can't say that exactly, but that's what, looking at the numbers, I see that the state portion is coming out of the overage, right?
Exactly.
So that it doesn't require a state funding.
I think Penny was going to say something about Chairman Houston.
Well, some people had asked me about lines 68 through 70, exactly what that meant. And that means that, from my understanding, and legislative council correct me, that they would not participate in COLA. And I don't think we do either, do we?
That's current law, yeah.
We have lead counsel here, Blake.
Sure. So line 68 through 70, subsection G, it relates to post-retirement benefit adjustments. So for a number of retirement systems, General Assembly put in this provision to where those who become members after July 1, 2009 are not eligible for post-retirement benefit adjustments. So as an example, there are members today who will retire and receive the $50 a month benefit provided in this bill, but they would not be eligible for additional increases after retirement based on that provision. So there may be a limited circumstance in where someone who retired in 2010, someone who became a member in, say, 2010, who has already retired prior to the passage of this bill, would not be eligible for the increase due,
Well, I don't think we'd want to do that.
but it would be kind of a limited scenario for that.
Well, that wasn't well, I think if they retired in 9 and served 12 years, that they ought to get it.
Chairman Martin?
To the attorney, you're talking about adjustments after retiring. If, as the chair lady's bill is written, this would put everybody at retirement age at 50, correct?
Dollars a month.
$50 per month.
That's what, yeah, right.
Yeah, but 9 or after, it just mean after 9, that would not increase unless it was increased statutorily.
Okay.
It wouldn't automatically increase with the COLA. For instance,
That's
the
what I
current-
understood. It wouldn't automatically increase with COLA. You'd have to come back to the legislature to get it in.
Exactly, Penny.
For instance, the statutory requirement when Chairman Cantrell's bill went through last year said 28, but they were actually, I think the payment was actually 36 due to COLAs, correct, Mr. Trout? I mean, I may be a dollar or two off there. So.
Right. So
But I really don't think that back then serving was any more stressful than just now. When you
I appreciate it, Penny. So I think to the chair lady's question, what this bill does is it takes it to $50 a month for everybody. But the language in line 68 through 70, basically to Chairman Martin's point, says there's not subsequently some sort of a COLA adjustment, additional percentage increase adjustment over and above the $50. That would have to be taken
that's the
up
way
in
I
another piece of
interpret it, but I
legislation.
didn't
It could be
understand.
Right. It can be
Okay.
taken up in Representative Bentley's legislation. So, yeah,
Okay. Sounds
All right.
good. Thank you so much.
I think we're okay on that. Okay, we have a motion from Chairman Martin. Move forward. Debbie chimed in just before you. Representative Buckner?
Yeah, I just had a question. I know these actuarial studies used to be several $1,000s and I assume they still are. Is there a way that these two bills could be like blended together so it's one actuarial study instead of two and save us some money?
I appreciate the idea, but I think we're going after two issues. We might be able to do that, but I think for now, the chair would like to keep it two issues. But Debbie, I'm going to count it. I love saving money. I love your idea. But having said that, there's a lot of emphasis to put everybody on the same level at the $50. And then secondly, how much additional does it cost in regard to our actual funded percentage to go to a higher benefit for everybody?
And second question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, please.
I know in the past, several of us have introduced legislation because there's several of our retirement plans that don't allow for COLAs and the legislative is in that group of other plans. Would there be any advantage to amending either of these so that we could see what COLAs would cost, even though we're not necessarily intending to do that, but so that we'd have an idea of the cost? Because even though we're overfunded, if we increase it, then we're going to be using more money, and just wanted to be sure that if we ever wanted to do COLAs, we'd know what a hit that would be to the plan.
You probably won't be that then, Debbie.
Well, I don't expect I will be, but thanks for the vote of confidence there, Penny.
No, and I'm not talking about.
I don't know that I want to do that at this point, Debbie, because that would be either, if not another bill, it would be a significant revision of an existing bill. But I see where you're going, that maybe we can do something in regard to Representative Bentley's bill that we may take up to actual review. Chairman Martin.
I was just going to say, as a practical matter, or is not true. We're in the same place. We can't really take action to change a bill because we're not in session and we don't have that. But the further thing is to the gentlelady's comment about the combining is we get charged, I think, actual costs for these actuarial studies. And I think the basis of how many people are in the plan, the basic network for the actuarial study probably is going to be able to be used twice with a couple of criteria changes. So I don't think we're we're really buying two. We're probably buying one, getting one, almost free, without even having
That's
to
called
combine them.
leverage. The leverage off the word.
Yeah,
Well,
leverage.
I do appreciate the.
But Mr. Chairman, isn't it true, once the actuarial comes back, unless we make it less than the actuarial study, we can't change the bill at that time, but I thought we could make adjustments now. This is just curiosity on my part right now.
We can keep the existing bill as it was sent to actual review or pare down the cost. We just can't.
Right. Cannot
can't
increase
exceed
it.
that.
Thank
And
you.
when we're talking about COLA language at this point, we're talking about exceeding it.
Right.
Okay.
I move.
Debbie, I'll recognize you in just a minute, but in fairness, Representative Wilkerson, I think had a question. David, you probably are on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do, and this is just a comment about section G, line 68. So my understanding is that whatever we put into statute as far as the amount, in this case, $50 and $200 for the presiding officer, the board then come back later and raise that amount. That's correct, right? So for a while, I think it was at 28, but we were actually getting 36. So that $50 is the floor. Is that correct?
Lead counsel.
Right. So that is typically how it works. I think there might be some concern that subsection G would affect subsection E. And subsection E basically says if you're already retired and there's a change in the benefit formula, then you get that increase. So a statutory change or a post-retirement benefit adjustment change. There may be some concern that subsection G, the way it's written, would apply to both the statutory changes and
the
post-retirement benefit adjustment changes. I don't know if that's
Correct.
true, but I could say that it's not as clear as it could be. We could amend it to make it clear, if that's the will of the committee.
You said we can do that now, because that would be my concern, because if the goal is to make sure that retirees have consistent pay with those that are retiring in the future, you would only ensure that by removing G, I believe, because it says that, you can't give them an increase. So if we're able to, I would like to remove J.
Second.
Or
Let me ask Representative Wilkerson and lead counsel, would it be possible to send this to actual review as is and remove G when we potentially take this bill up in January? Would that necessarily increase the costs as computed by the actual review?
it might increase the cost. So if we were going to do something, I'd recommend doing it.
So this G basically says you shall not get a COLA.
Right.
What says that they would get a COLA, thus triggering the higher cost, thus triggering.
It's any post-retirement
Hang on, Debbie. Blake, did I answer that? Did I ask that correctly?
I believe so. So there could be an instance where someone who started after 2009 has already retired.
Right.
And they could be blocked by this. I don't know how the system would review that. But we could add at the end of line 70, pursuant to subsection F. So any post-retirement benefit adjustment that occurs pursuant to subsection F, those would be prohibited, but not the other type. So that's a way we could push through the intent as I understand it, rather than just removing all of G.
Okay. Debbie, hold on a second. Chairman Martin?
Well, I was trying to get where Blake, I think, ultimately got us. Opposed to deleting G in its entirety, and just wonder. I mean, to me, it's abundantly clear what we're looking for here in a actuarial study, because of the way the lines are stricken on lines 34 through 43, and this. At the will of the chair, in terms of the gentleman's, the attorney's suggested amendment, or I think in a letter with accompanying actuarial, so the chair can make it abundantly clear that we're talking about the 50% applying to all retirees, because this is not a law. This is what we're asking for in an actuarial study.
Right.
So at the will, I had a motion to approve, I think to move forward as it is. If you'd like me to withdraw that or amend that motion, I'll do so at your guidance.
I want to hear from Jim Potvin with ERS. He was going to comment quickly about the COLA language. Jim, are you on or are you muted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you, sir.
I believe you had a comment on line 68 through 70.
Right, so that language has been in place in LRS since 2009, and there's similar language for ERS and JRS. The intent is literally for those post-retirement adjustments that would be authorized by the board, most commonly COLAs, but in some cases, the one-time kind of 13th check ideas as well. It is not my read that adopting language that would potentially change the multiplier for retirees is addressed by that section. So it's, to me, lines 68 to 70 are simply existing law that are not addressed in any way by the bill at hand.
Got it. Thank you. Chairman Martin, did you?
I think Jim, if you could say, so you think we are okay going to actuarial as the bill is written, and if we need to clarify anything statutorily after we get the actuarial, just to, belt and suspenders, we could do that when we come back in January. Is that what you say?
That is my opinion. I would also say, though, that if you wanted to take action to remove 68 through 70 later, that would be a cost increaser, and you probably would have a hard time doing it.
Well, I mean, that, as far for me, Mr. Chairman, that was not what I intended to do, is to remove it in its entirety. I think there was a reason that was put in 2009, and we've been functioning under an asset. Yes.
Okay. Blake, I see you nodding over there. Did you have anything?
No, I agree with their assessment. Based on hearing the confusion was why I recommended additional language that could specify that when they're talking about post-retirement benefit adjustment, they're specifically referring to subsection F, which is related to how the board adjusts it.
Understand. So going back, I hope he's still there, is David Wilkerson, Representative Wilkerson. Does that answer your question, David?
It does. I'm not as clear, and maybe I can talk in the future, because G says this code section and F is in the same code section as, I'm assuming it's in the same code section as A through F. So it does not distinguish. It says, no, notwithstanding any provision of this code section, no member shall receive any post-retirement benefit adjustment. So that's why I'm just curious how that language plays into it. I mean, either way, I guess, if they can get the 50, they can get the 50, but I guess it just precludes them from getting any future adjustments until we legislatively act on it.
Correct.
But I don't know how it's a different code section. That's my only question. So not enough to hold everything up. So.
And now, Debbie, I'm sorry, Debbie. Now I want to go back to you. Representative Buckner.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just wondering if we knew what the true definition of post-retirement benefit adjustment is. If that, I know it includes COLAs, but does it include any and all post-retirement adjustments of the amount like this and COLAs? And, what is that definition? Is what I was trying to get to.
Okay.
It's a bit confusing. I'm thinking at some point we might need to clean it up.
Did very well. Okay. Back to Representative Houston, or Chairman Houston. Anything else, Penny?
No, I should have just kept my mouth shut if that's 68 through 70.
Martin, do you really want to respond to that?
I was just going to say, I think the chair lady has a winner, and go back to the previous motion, and if we're ready to vote.
We have a motion. Was it Gerald? Or was it
I'll
Jody?
second.
Okay, Chuck made the motion for moving to actual review. Is there a second?
Second.
Debbie made the second. Any further discussion on House Bill 829? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Good discussion. All right.
Well, thank y'all, and thank y'all so much for serving on retirement.
Thank you, Penny.
No good deed.
All right, thanks.
Okay, House Bill 823, Representative Bentley, is she on?
I am back on. Yes, Mr.
Hey,
Chairman. Hi. So basically, my bill 823 is pretty much in line with Chair Lady Penny Houston's bill. It just changes in lieu of the monthly service retirement allowance, takes it up to $75 for each year of such members' credible service, and an additional $200 for each year for members presiding. And of course, this is for those members that were contributing members on January 1st of 2024. And so that's pretty much the gist of my bill. And I'm asking this committee to please consider passing it over for actuary study, because it's going to benefit all of us in the room at some point for those that are contributing. I want to make sure, as Chairman Carson stated, for those that are watching media and all, that this is for contributing members.
Thank you for that, Representative Bentley. So basically, this says that it would increase the benefit, the monthly benefit, from $50 per month per year of service to $75 per month per year of service.
That's right. That's
starting
right.
in January of for all active members. You mean retired members as of January 1st, 24, right?
That's right. So they have to be contributing members on January 1st upon retirement.
Would this address the tiered structure that we currently have between? It would not, would it? Patty, would this address, so people that retired prior to 2022, would they still be at the $36 per month per year of service, or would they go up to the 75 under your bill?
I believe my bill will only cover those from January 1st, 2024 after. Those before, I don't believe will benefit from this particular legislation.
Okay, got it. Chairman Martin?
Chairman, I
There we go.
believe this follows Chairman Cantrell's original language on lines 24 through 33. It creates a C2. You know, there was a C1 that created the $50 tier. This would create a second tier. And while the representative doesn't contemplate it, because again, as going to actuarial service, it has to cost less than the actuarial thing. I think one could contemplate that if this comes back, there may be an additional increase that the members need to put in to justify this benefit. But the counting on that revenue wasn't put in the bill because we didn't want to, we want to show a high cost and reduce it when it came. I say we,
So that
the
we can
representative
pass it
did.
within our rules.
And so if I might, Mr. Chairman, with Chairman Houston's bill, with Representative Bentley's bill, when we get the cost back from these, you would have 3 tiers if they passed as is, but these may be able to be merged together with the current members paying a little bit more to get everybody in a better place. So we'll just have to see what the numbers say when they come back to compress it so that you don't end up with a 3-tiered system, but an only 2-tiered system, or maybe possibly even a 1.
I understand. Question for legislative council. So if we were to pass Representative Bentley's bill to fiscal review as is, Patty, we're working on LC 432854. So basically, if we did this, we would, assuming we were to pass Chairman Houston's bill as well, Chairman Houston would go to $50 per month per year for all legislative retirement members. And then Patty's bill, Blake, would go to $75 for people that were actively in LRS as of January 1st, 2024 and going forward, correct? So we would still have a two-tiered pay system, correct?
Right.
I'm sorry. Here we go.
Right, so it would take everyone up to the 50 and 200, but then it would create a new tier,
A new second tier.
eliminate the first tier because everyone's on the same plane now, and then create one, so there'd be everyone on the same tier at 50 and 200, and then a new tier for 75 and 200.
Dare I say this with some retired legislator from South Georgia, but there is some merit a little bit to there being a second tier, because what we did in Chairman Cannistrail's bill is we raised the contribution rate. Yeah. Because significantly more. And that's the further rationale for what Patty's doing here, to have a second tier, because there's a second tier of benefit there. You can argue a second tier for a benefit under Patty's bill because we have a second tier of contribution from
Right.
West Trails bill.
Right, and there would be an option to, yes, there is a higher contribution amount for those who would be getting this extra tier. So this provides options however you want to handle it. It's just right. It's a change to current law to give an additional benefit for those January 1, 2024 forward, if they were passed at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion from the committee? Is there oh, I'm sorry. We do have a couple of comments. Representative Tarvin, Steve Tarvin. I think you're still on mute, Steve.
Okay, not to muddy the water anymore, but on the presiding officer, $200, that would be the speaker.
Yes, sir.
Right.
What happens if a person served 20 years, became speaker for 4, and then served for 10 more? You have to be presiding at your time of retirement, or do you only gain the 200 for the 4?
No, it would be for the years that you were presiding officer. You get a higher payout recognized for those years.
Just the 200 for those 4 years you were speaker. Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you for the question.
Hold on one moment, everybody. All right, any further discussion amongst the members? Is there a motion on this? Move to actual review per Chairman Martin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Debbie Buckner. All in favor? Any further discussion? Sorry. All in favor of the motion, moving to actual review on this as written. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. All right. Patty, you're on to fiscal review.
Thank you, committee members.
Okay. We have Jim Popman on, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here.
I wanted to go to House Bill 833. House Bill 833 was brought to me earlier, late in the session for us to do this very exercise, basically send it to actual review. What the director of ERS, Jim Fotman, and his team are trying to do, they're trying to make things in regard to the waiting periods to go from one plan to another. They're trying to make that more consistent across the board within ERS. And obviously, when you do take an action such as that, there's going to be a fiscal impact. Jim, can you unmute your line and tell us a little bit more about House Bill 833?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a number of cases where we have varying waiting periods before you can refund or purchase different kinds of service, such as prior refunded service or prior GDCP, Georgia Defined Contribution Plan service, or prior law enforcement services. And those waiting periods ranged from a year to as many as 10 years. So we looked at all these different periods and we tried to figure out if there was a particular reason for the distinction between the various types of service. And where we could not ascertain one, we proposed to change those waiting periods and to reduce them to a kind of uniform 90 days. We didn't see the reason for making people wait to refund or bring the service back into the system. This is of particular interest to GSEPS employees who are now able to take advantage of the enhanced GSEPS match in the 401k plan, but it requires a certain amount of service to be able to do that. So if you can get the service restored in the system quicker, you can take advantage of the match a little bit quicker as well. There's a separate category of items where there are deadlines for people to make certain elections. And again, the deadlines were of varying lengths and in many cases simply resulted in an administrative problem where we would get a call after the deadline had expired and somebody would say to us, well, nobody told me about this deadline, or nobody told me about my employer when I started didn't tell me about this. And so then we'd have to go through this exercise of trying to evaluate whether our duties to communicate this were in fact fulfilled within the, say, 90 days of employment. It was always very difficult to do that. And again, without trying to take on any new liabilities to the system, or at least in a very minimal way, we think we can remove some of those deadlines entirely, allow somebody to make such a decision for a much broader period or even their entire career. And in the cases where they're paying full actuarial costs, those costs can fluctuate depending on when they make the election, but they would still be required to pay those costs as they exist at the time that they decide to make that election. So the second part of this bill is to remove some of those deadlines that we feel were not really serving any positive purpose for any of the systems.
Thank you for that, Jim. Anything else on the bill? I think what you're trying to do is provide, make it a little bit more consistent across the board. It's basically what you're trying to do. And that's obviously when you have those different waiting periods, it's going to have a cost of some sort. Do you expect is that the intent of the bill? And secondly, do you expect a large actuarial cost in regard to this?
I do not. I can't for sure say it's going to be zero, but I would expect it to be a pretty moderate cost compared to the size of the system.
Okay, very good. Chairman Martin.
Just a quick question. I mean, we'll get into the details. We're sending this to actuarial, but this doesn't include any of those things that people have tried to run in on us before, where you get a one-time change to what was once an irrevocable one-time decision going from one plan to another. You know to what I'm referring, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So this doesn't have any of that sort of thing. This is just people that have worked here before that might not have been vested, never took their money, from the plan, come back, and we let them start it up faster.
Correct. There are a number of different categories of services they're basically ongoing, right? Any new employee gets to make this decision. So those are the things that we targeted, not the one-time or quote unquote irrevocable ones.
Right.
All right. Any other questions in regard to House Bill 833 in regard to the bill, its content? Any questions for Mr. Potvin?
I move to pass.
We got a move from Representative Buckner. Is there a second?
Second from Patty Bentley.
I heard Patty loud and clear. Any further discussion on this bill? For Patty? Representative Bentley, Chairman Martin has made a motion for you to have a translator from your southern drawl for the purposes of this committee meeting. He loves your southern accent, dear.
Well,
have
thank you so
motion for-
kindly.
He is. We have a motion to move to actual review from Representative Buckner. We have a second from Representative Bentley. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed, say no. Did you hear Patty's southern drawl say yes? All right, very good.
Wake up. Get us going in the morning.
All right, very good. We have two more bills. This next bill, House Bill 746. This was a bill that was that I've been requested to look at specifically from the Speaker's office. They and leadership. What they want to do is basically make sure that we're not running into any issues when we want to reward support staff for doing almost two jobs in one. Where we want to pay a supplement to someone here for doing additional work or what have you for various tasks, that does not trip things up with regard to pension obligations and pension costs. That's all this bill does. I've been asked by various people to move this forward just to see what the cost would look like and to move that forward for next session. I don't anticipate there being a cost. I've verified the wording of this twice actually, and I'd just like to move this to actuarial review and see what Greg Griffin and his team think of the actuarial costs. Again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reward people for doing additional work, basically serving state employees that are serving more than one committee, more than one chairman. If we pay them a supplement, how does that impact pension costs? And hopefully we'd like to get to a position where it would not have an impact on pension contributions and so forth. But nevertheless, per this wording, I've been asked to move to a fiscal review. We have a move from Chairman Martin, a second from Chairman Green. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, committee, for your indulgence there. Okay, last bill. This is a bill from one moment, please. Yeah, is that an extra? Okay, very good. Last bill is House Bill 643. Do we have Representative Bruce on? Okay, all right. Let me see if Roger can do so, and if not, then I'll have you present, Chairman Martin. We have one person dialed in audio via the telephone versus Zoom. I don't think 912 is his number. Okay. Tell you what, I don't see Representative Bruce on the line. So I'm going to have Chairman Martin present House Bill 643. I think it's got a really good intent, and I'm supportive of it. And I think we have Judge Taylor. Judge, we're going to get to you in just a moment, okay? But I'm going to have Chairman Bruce present and represent. I'm Chairman Martin present in Representative Bruce's absence. Chairman. There we go.
I didn't know we had a judge on. They could probably do it much more justice, but as I understand this,
is that a pun intended? Doing much more justice?
I can't recall.
Okay.
It's late morning. I'm waiting on lunch, but I believe this is just going to allow our state court judges. I believe Representative Bruce early in his tenure, for one reason or other at that time, put this language in place, and we seek to repeal it basically and let our state court judges work into the Fulton County retirement system, but also avail themselves of the state retirement systems. And I yield to Judge Taylor if I'm incorrect in doing that, but I believe that is all this bill does, and we're looking at the actuarial cost of allowing those judges to
Yeah, I've
participate.
read this a couple of times and I see, as chair, I don't have any issues of it. And I'll just speak plainly to the committee. Basically, we're doing exactly what you said, Chairman Martin. We're repealing a prohibition. We're repealing a prohibition against certain state judges from Fulton County from participating in other retirement systems. That's all we're doing. Unless I'm misreading it. Any questions from the committee? Yeah. No questions to the committee. Okay, Judge Wes Taylor, are you on and can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Great. How are you doing, Judge?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So House Bill 643, just floor is yours, sir.
I won't take up much time unless there are questions. Y'all did a great job presenting it. The only thing I'll add is that I can't imagine there's a fiscal impact to the state. This does not affect JRS or any state funds whatsoever. And the last thing I'll say is this is actually a county bill. So we and the commission are on board on this as well.
Very good. Thank you for that. Any questions for Judge Taylor? Judge, if you don't mind holding on just for a moment, I believe Representative Bruce just logged in. Roger, if you can hear me, you are on mute. Can you unmute yourself? If you wanted to speak to it.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey, Roger, how are you?
Good morning.
Of course, you're not driving and on Zoom at the same time, are you?
No, sir, because I know you passed the law saying I couldn't do that.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm actually sitting in my car in the parking lot. I did not know about the meeting until a few minutes ago. I walk on Tuesday mornings. That's where I was at the park. But
Okay.
I was told that a piece of legislation that I was being heard.
The sentence,
Patty, if you can mute your line, please. Thanks. Go ahead, Roger.
Is my bill being heard now?
Yes, sir. Chuck Martin presented it, but I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, yeah, basically, the judges are asking that they are allowed to collect their entire retirement. Right now, they're limited to one or the other, and so they don't get their full retirement. And that's really all the bill does. It just lets them get their full retirement.
I understand. And we had Judge Wes Taylor online as well, saying the same thing and with his full support of your bill. All right.
Okay.
Any questions for the author? Any
I
questions?
move do pass.
We have a move to
Never.
pass from Representative Buckner. Is there a second? Second.
Second from Patty Bentley.
And Patty Bentley. 2 seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to move this to actual review for setting it up for 24, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, everybody. Judge Taylor, thank you for logging in and joining us. Thank you, Roger, for joining us. If there's no
Okay.
further business,
Thank you all very much.